Good morning, Venters. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day watching football. Man, this weekend I watched a whole bunch of football games. I saw Oregon beat Ohio State. Wow, what a good game that was. There was actually like 3 or 4 really good games that I watched. Even my ASU Sun Devils beat the Utah Utes, which was really nice to see. I think ASU is going to get a bowl game this year. I hope they keep winning. ASU football is nothing in the national scene of things. Ever since the Cardinals came in the mid-'80s, the Sun Devils have just kind of been an afterthought. But before the Cardinals came, the Sun Devils were the main show in town when it came to football. So I always grew up a ASU Sun Devil fan. I just wish they were a little bit more competitive, but who knows? They've got the youngest coach in the country. Maybe he can spark things up and, have a nice long tradition of winning. That's really the key with college. You got to have a coach that's willing to park and be with your team for a good decade or so. And in the past, every time ASU had a really successful coach, before you know it, that coach was being pulled away to bigger and better schools. So maybe ASU can bust out some money and find a way to keep this coach with us for life, because again, that's the key. You got to have a Nick Saban type relationship with a school. And anybody that's had a coach that's led their team to championships, you probably had a coach that had been there for a while. That's really the key, continuity. So I understand that yesterday was Thanksgiving in Canada. Lily, I hope you had a beautiful Thanksgiving. I don't know if your Thanksgiving mirrors ours from the standpoint of, turkey and ham and all the fixings, but whatever you guys ate, hopefully you ate reasonably and didn't eat too much. Yesterday, I talked about my son, and I also talked a little bit about my Uncle David. My Uncle David was just the best uncle that a kid could have. My father wasn't in my life, and growing up as kids and teens, a lot of times we wanted to go to places like golf and stuff, or skate land, or just up to the park to play basketball and stuff. And a lot of times where my father wasn't there, my Uncle David was. Where my mom would drop us off at the Great Skate or the golf and stuff, Uncle David was the man that would actually go in, grab some skates, and start roller skating with you. I think we've all had family members like this. When you are that family member, you are so special to those kids. Don't ever stop doing what you're doing. Be that aunt, be that uncle that is in your nieces and nephews' lives. You end up becoming the favorite uncle, and even when you pass on, your memory lives forever in those kids. So Uncle David, if you're listening to my voice somewhere out there in the heavens, just know that I love you and miss you, and you were the absolute best friend that a kid growing up could ever have. And I'm sure all my buddies would agree with me. When I mention Uncle Dave to my buddies, they all smile. Not that I've talked to them recently, but they all used to smile. Everybody loved Uncle Dave. Lily had brought up the idea that I guess over the last couple of weeks, and specifically yesterday, I've kind of sounded a little down, right? You want things to go like this in life, right? That nice upward trajectory, but sometimes there's peaks, sometimes there's valleys, right? And these are things that we all have to deal with. Now, when I'm feeling bad, a walk really helps me, helps boost my mood. I love smelling the fresh air, right? And I love just feeling the sun on my skin. And I love just moving one step after another. And then one of the things I like doing is I like looking behind me to see how much distance that I've already traversed. There's something really neat about that to me. It has a real soothing effect. It makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something each and every day. And Sean, I don't know how many straight paths you walk down or how many straight pathways you traverse through, Lily and Mala, but if you ever walk down for 30, 45 seconds and turn around, it just always amazes me how much distance you can do in that time. So it really shows you that, especially if you have stores that are only a mile or two away, you don't need to get in your car all the time. Just put on your walking shoes and walk to the grocery store. You don't need to get groceries each week like you've done your whole life. You can walk up every day and just get your groceries for the day. Now, is that easy to do if you have a family of 4 or 5? No, you probably want to go every week, right? Like you normally do and get everything at once. But if you're living by yourself, or if it's just you and your spouse, what's killing you from just walking up to the store every day? Earn your meal, so to speak. So Lily brought up the idea that why don't you create a positivity journal or count your blessings? And Lily, believe it or not, I actually do. Out of every 10 walks that I take, there might be one where I'm a little bit down or a little bit frustrated. When we talk about national news, those things do upset me, but they upset me on the surface level. I don't let it get too deep in my soul, because mathematically speaking, whenever you live in a country that has 330 million people like the US does, there's always going to be a camera somewhere that takes a shot of somebody committing a heinous crime that makes you want to puke. But you want to know what the cameras miss? The cameras miss the 30 or 40,000 times a day when good stuff happens. I almost said good shit, right? When good stuff happens. Because the reality is, when somebody helps a little lady across the street, that doesn't make the national news. When a neighbor comes through and says, hey, I know you're hurting, here's a check for $500, go buy your family some food. Those stories happen every day in this country. They just don't make the news. You know, people don't pay it forward enough. When good things happen to you, it's not that the person that does stuff for you needs you to give them back. Sometimes they do. But it's really about the idea that, hey, if people are there to help you, you should pay it forward and help others. You know, we could really make this world a beautiful place overnight if people would just change the way they are. So let's talk a little bit about positivity today. Because Lily, I think you're very right. While I am positive, there's a lot of people out there that don't feel as happy and positive and happy-go-lucky as I do. So what can we do about that? Well, let's start counting our blessings. One thing that we all have now that we might not have had this time last year is a walking routine. So we have a way where even when we're walking, whether we think about horrible things, good things, or zone out and think about nothing at all, your body is still clicking off those calories. That's what's so awesome about my daily walk. Not only can I strategize, right? Not only can I think about things that are grievous, not only can I think about things that make me smile and are happy, but my body, regardless of what I'm doing, is still clicking off those calories. So number one of the positives that I have in my life is I have this calorie burning machine called my legs. I'm very, very happy to have my legs. I'm very happy that my legs enjoy walking, and I'm very happy that I can walk each and every day. So that is a blessing. Number two, and you have that same blessing. Number two, whether you dislike or like your job, it is a blessing to have a job. I keep hearing reports, and I'm sure you guys have too, where a lot of people that have been laid off from tech jobs, they've literally given out their name and their resume to 500 to 1,000 companies, and nobody's called them back to get a job. So when people tell you, hey, when you're not happy at your job, put in your resignation, I'm one of the few guys that tells you, hey, you might want to find a job first. Because when you can't pay your rent, there is going to come a point where your landlord says, hey, I have to give you this eviction notice. You have 30 days to vacate the premise. And your kids just aren't going to understand that you didn't like Dale at work. So again, do you want to leave a job when your mental happiness is in question? Yeah, but do it the right way. Go on a walk, strategize, get your resume out there on these job boards, right? And find a job before you quit. Because otherwise your kids are really going to get uncomfortable. And one of the things that it's your job as a parent to do is try to make sure that your kids have plenty of money for their lunch, have plenty of situations where they don't have to stress about where they're going to lay down their head at night. And when you're one of these parents that you're so volatile that you just quit jobs because somebody disagreed with you, man, you're putting your whole family behind the 8 ball. Be ahead of the game. Put your resume out there, get a job first and then resign. Try to do things the logical way. And again, I've had arguments with people in my comments, not real arguments, but just, Jesse, I think your mental health is so important that if your job is depressing you, you need to get out of that job. Yeah, I agree, but we live in a world with bills. And 9 out of 10 men, if you were to ask them, do you love your job? 9 out of 10 men will answer by saying it puts food on the table. Your job is not necessarily supposed to be the most fun thing in the world that you love. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't make those jobs something that you love. How? You could become the best at it. You could become that person that when other people need your help, you smile and you help them. Become a beacon of light in the darkness. Be that person that everybody looks up to. And before you know it, you'll enjoy what you're doing more. I think a lot of times we as people, we live in this world where like everything's supposed to be gumdrops and ribbons. And the reality is, that's not what the world is at all. Jobs stand for just over broke, right? You've heard people say, you know what job stands for, right? It stands for just over broke. How about we quit looking at it like that? How about we look at it as in a job equates to living in this world? You want a house, you want a car, you want a family? Good luck getting a girlfriend if you don't have a job. You know what I mean? Good luck having those Nike Air Jordans if you don't have a job. Good luck getting a car loan if you don't have a job. We can't all be entrepreneurs and we can't all be successful YouTubers. Sometimes we have to do stuff to put food on the table. You know what's funny? We look at prostitutes, and if a prostitute were to say, hey, I'm gonna do what I have to do to put food on the table, you know what people are gonna say? Go queen, you gotta do what you gotta do. But then when people say, I wanna leave my job because there's so much mental anguish there, people look at them and they say, yeah, I don't blame you. The echo chambers agree with us too much. Sometimes you need somebody to say, wow, that's a little overboard. Wow, are you sure that you want to do that? You sure you want to jump into that cold pool? Do you want to think about this first? Why don't you ponder this for a while? And what most people do is they say, yeah, I'll ponder it, and then they go right back on their cell phone and they don't ponder anything. They just make quick snap reaction decisions. Guys, not everybody likes their job. But if your job pays well, you ever see these people on YouTube? They're like, hey, I just quit my $250,000 a year job because I want to be happy. Well, you're not going to be happy when your bills start, becoming too much for you to handle. So before you quit that $250,000 a year job, ask yourself, who the hell in their right mind would quit a $250,000 a year job? You're crazy. Not everything is about your happiness. But at the same time, your job, even if it's the toughest job in the world, it really shouldn't predicate your happiness. Now, don't get me wrong. There are jobs where your stress level gets so high that you can't complete a sentence. I've been there, even my current job. Very, very stressful. There are moments where I want to call it quits, but at the same time, I'm debt-free. Because when I was working and making good money, I paid off my bills. I put myself in a position where if I ever have to get another job, I can survive for X amount of months. Not everybody else is in that position. So what am I going to consider that? I'm going to consider that another blessing. But you want to know something? The strategies that went into me becoming debt-free happened when I was on a walk. You're on a walk and you tell yourself, God, I want to be able to go to a movie when I want. I want to be able to buy a pair of shoes when I want. I want to be able to do this, that, and the other. Well, there comes a point of clarity where you tell yourself, well, how am I going to do that? Yeah, I bet you want that, Jesse. I bet everybody wants that. What's the game plan to get there? Well, maybe instead of eating out every weekend, I'll just eat out once or twice a month, and I'll take that extra money and I'll start paying off my bills. Hey, that's a good idea. And then you start putting words into action. And you actually stop going out every week and you start going out just once a month. And before you know it, bills start getting eliminated. And then once bills start getting eliminated, just like that, what's his name, Gordon Ramsay, whatever his name is, the Ramsay guy, you pay off that small bill, you get it out of your life. Now you attack the next. All of these bills we didn't acquire overnight. Your charge card did not get a $15,000 balance overnight. It was you going to Sears, you going to Learners, you going to Walmart, and instead of buying stuff with your debit card, like I recommend, you guys put stuff on your credit card. Who cares that the credit card has a 30% interest rate? Those things that are designed to give us temporary happiness end up bringing about misery. There is no easy way out of things. You got to be smart. And that's where I absolutely love my walk. My walks have enabled me to become debt-free. My walks enable me to come up with plans. And it helps me deal with failures. So that's a positive in your life. Don't forget that. What's another positive that I have? I have met you, Lily. That's a positive. I have met Sean. I have met Rochelle and Mala. You people are the salt of the earth. You guys are the people that remind me of the people and the life that I grew up in. The normalcy, so to speak. Because anybody that looks at today's world and thinks this is normal, man, you must be from an alien planet. Sometimes it's easy to feel like you're the only one dealing with financial woes. Sometimes you're the only one that's dealing with going through a divorce. Sometimes you feel like you're the only one who's estranged from their kids. And then you quickly realize that you're not the only one, you're one of many that are dealing with these issues. And when I talk to people like Lily and Mala and Sean and Rochelle and all the others, it makes me realize that not everyone's crazy and weird. There's a lot of down-to-earth people. A lot of us venters really do care what other people are going through. But we also realize as a venter that sometimes the problem lies not with the world out there, but with ourselves, right? I must tell you guys once a day, or at least 2 or 3 times a week, you really need to work on the man and woman in the mirror. Because the more I live in this world, I realize the outside world is just, you can't affect it at all. There's absolutely nothing you can do short of running for the presidency where you can make any change that's significant. But the biggest thing you can do is you can work on yourself. So one of the positives in my life is I have a situation where every single day I get to work on myself. You know, you may not realize this, but me just holding this camera and walking with you is an accomplishment. I've been working every single day for the past 7 months, if you give me credit for the 4 or 5 hours I put in each day with my YouTube channel. I love doing my reaction vents, but I was having problems with people reaching out and saying, you know what, you didn't ask permission, I'm giving you a copyright strike. Instead of putting my tail between my legs and giving up, on a walk I just made a decision. What's stopping me from any given Saturday or Sunday reaching out to a dozen or more YouTubers and simply asking them for permission to show their videos? And guess what? Because of that plan that I came up with, now I have a situation, guys, where basically I have a dozen or so people that have given me permission to use their videos to do reactions on. It was a smart thing. They realized that, hey, I'm going to be sharing their channel with my viewers, and people like Mala and Lily can actually go and check out their channel. And sometimes you guys do that. So that's the thing. When it's mutually beneficial to others, everybody wins. Some people were like, hell yeah, Jesse, please do. So now instead of putting up somebody's video and crossing my fingers that they don't get upset, right? Now I have people that have already given me the green light. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start doing our vent and reaction, and I'm going to sleep better because now I don't have to worry about waking up and wondering if they made a complaint against me. One of the people that motivated me to talk about my estrangement with my son is a woman who's being beaten up online. She put a video up about how her daughter has been estranged from her. And I reached out to her and I said, hey, I would like to do a reaction video on how other people are treating you because of this video you put up. Because I'm on your side. I think something within your daughter is holding a grudge and not being willing to forgive you. And I think there's a lack of something there. I think that's not a positive go queen type situation. I think that's a negative for people to have. You know, if you only see your daughter 3 or 4 times a year, and that's in a good situation, right? Your daughter lives out of state, but she visits you for Thanksgiving every year, and you visit her for Christmas, and it equates to you guys seeing each other 4 or 5 times a year. Well, I don't know if you guys realize this, but if you do the math and you see your daughter for 4 or 5 times a year for the next 30 years that you're alive, that means you're going to see your daughter 120 times from now until the end of your life. Well, the last I checked, that's about 4 months. Now, I don't know about you, but if you only have 4 more months to see your kids or to see your parents for the rest of your life, do you now see how someone could find it cruel that you're trying to X them out of your life? Even if it's for 5 or 10 years, you are literally taking away time where your parents can see your face. And I don't know about you, but when you see somebody a decade apart from one another, right? You see them in 2000 and then you see them again in 2010 and then 2020, you're not even seeing the same person. You know, you're seeing this person that that changes every 10 years. I don't know about you, but people change a lot over 10 years. Take a look at a 10-year-old boy and then take a look at a 20-year-old boy, and you're probably looking at 2 completely different people. 20-year-old man, excuse me. So again, I look at things and I think, God, thank God my daughter hasn't cut me out of her life. Thank God my mom hasn't cut me out of her life. I cut my dad out of my life, and then when I wanted him back, I found out he died 5 years ago. Who loses in that? Me. Whenever you harbor anger and grudges and resentment, the only one that loses is you. You're just too young to realize it now. I'm getting at that age where I'm starting to realize the error of my ways. These young kids don't have a chance today, though. The reason they don't have a chance is because they always have a damn echo chamber willing to agree with every stupid thing that they do and say. That's what's so crazy. One of the other blessings I have is that I get to work from home. So that enabled me for the last couple years of my grandmother's life to actually be able to see her. So that was a real blessing. That's something that I'm completely happy about. And even though I no longer have that situation, I was able to live in a world where my grandmother was given 98 and a half years. So where if my grandma would have perished, when I was in my teens, and she would have only lived, let's say, 65 or 70 years, I would have still been happy that she had a decent life, but I would have been upset like she was taken too early. When your grandma lives to be darn near 100 years old, it's hard to be upset with that, right? I have so many great family members that are no longer with us, but I still think about them every day because when they were here, they chose to be in my life. So Uncle David, love you forever. I can't wait to see you again. Grandma, you are the saint that made this life bearable. Thank you for being in my life, and I can't wait to see you again. And I hope that when I go to heaven, I hope that they throw a parade, and I hope that I'm just as happy to see everybody else as they are happy to see me. And if you're a non-believer and you think that when I die I become a tree, I hope I become the most beautiful big giant tree ever. I want to provide shade for the next generation of people that are willing to walk and work on themselves. I am a work in progress. Sean, you are a work in progress. Mala, you are evolving and you are a work in progress. Same with you, Lily, and same with everybody that's listening to my voice. Right now you are thinking about taking a walk. If you do end up taking a walk, you'll end up being so happy that you did. And I don't mean a daily one-off walk. I mean, go take a walk every single day, and pretty soon you'll notice that it changes your life. There's a lot of walks that I take with you guys where I talk about things. And I'll tell you what, yesterday it was good to be able to talk about things, because if I would have been walking by myself, I would have been having these negative thoughts like, God, here's another birthday. I'm not in my son's life, but I wouldn't have been able to get them off my chest. They would have just been stuck here in my head, because believe it or not, when I'm not holding a camera, I don't talk to myself out loud. You know what I mean? When the camera's here, I can talk to myself out loud and we can see the jumping dog. Jump for us, buddy. Oh, that's how you know he knows that I'm keeping track of him. He only seems, there he goes, jump! There he goes. God, dogs have such great characters, don't they? He jumps every time I walk by, but he doesn't necessarily bark and make himself known. That shows his curious nature, and that shows that he's got a little bit of a spy in him. He likes to jump up and see what's happening, but he doesn't necessarily like people to know that he's doing it. There's something kind of neat. That's what his dog brain is thinking. How can I be secretive here? I think that's kind of neat. See, I find things like that special. Would I have ever known that if I never took a walk? No. If I didn't have my camera and occasionally walk by and then see him as I'm editing and he's jumping up in the air, I would have never known that. Those are cool things that are happening in your neighborhood as well. You might have a dog that's willing to come out and say hi to you every single day in your neighborhood. God, I love walking. And no, Lily, believe it or not, I don't stew in negativity. I'm really a positive person. I try to look at the glass as half full. But you want to know something? Before I started walking, I think I was a glass half empty person. I think walking helps you go from being a skeptical person to optimistic. You know, as a realist, it's real easy to say, God, this is just the way it is. But as an optimist, you can say, hey, let's see if we can change this. Let's see if we can create a different outcome. Let's see what happens if we walk every day, because every time I'm walking, I come up with these world-class ideas. And I'm telling you, it is a world-class idea if you go from being $30,000 or $40,000 in debt to debt-free. You guys want to know, that feels like a 50-pound weight coming right off your shoulders. When you go from 185 pounds and then 90 days later, you're 165 pounds, God, that feels like weight coming off your shoulders, literally. And when you help other people like Sean lose 20 pounds, God dang, that's like getting a check for $1 million. Maybe not 1 million. Moral of the story, I'm happy. And I'm glad you guys are walking with me. And I'm thinking, when I'm on this walk, I'm constantly thinking, how can I make this show keep going? How can I get more popular? How can I reach out and collaborate with other YouTubers? You want to know something? If I would have looked at this hurdle and just said, oh my God, people are going to copyright strike me, I don't want to lose my channel, so I'm just going to do my walk, I probably would have ended up losing my channel, because just seeing somebody walk might not do it for a lot of people. But when you can find a way to keep your reactions going, guys, there's millions of people I can reach out to and say, hey, I saw your video, I'd like to share it with my channel. And if 9 out of 10 of them say, go for it, thank you, well then all of a sudden that takes care of a big problem that was giving me grief. Do you see how relieving the grief can make you happier? So we're gonna start doing vents again. The only difference is we're gonna do it the right way. No more of this, hey, I'm gonna use fair use, because if people don't respect fair use and people don't respect copyrights, you just live in a world full of disrespect. So I'm gonna start respecting people. And we're gonna move forward in the right way. And that's what I want you guys to do, move forward in the right way. So even though I'm stopping my walk and I'm gonna go watch football, there's no reason why you should stop your walk. Keep going. You're a venter now. I'll see you tomorrow.